Hello guys, my name is Arun Tyagi. I'm a software engineer. Okay, let me introduce myself first. I'm a software engineer. Right now I'm working in Microsoft as a developer. Prior to Microsoft, I worked as an head architect in one startup where we build a no-code platform, a kind of a complex architecture you can build in these days. Prior to that, I worked as a full stack dev in projects like a travel booking portal where you can book flights, you can book cruise and all. And also worked on an e-commerce portal, right? There also I worked as a full stack developer. So I almost spent 10 years in the industry, and what I have learned till now, in and out, how to code, what are the patterns to follow, how to organize your code when you're working on something which is going to be a humongous in terms of, lines of code in your project. Then how you can design, how you can architect. So that is what I have learned so far. Now, using that knowledge, what I'm trying to do here is, this is my humble effort to introduce that what we should do, what we should follow, so that we can ace in software engineering in our career, right? So this series which I'm going to make is not focused on how you can crack interviews. There is a lot of content, a lot of sites which are working in that, are there really good content in that field. What I'm working on, what I'm going to do is how you can become a master at your job in software engineering, right? Once you crack Microsoft, once you crack Google or wherever you are working, how you can become that guy who knows in and out, who is a master of of that software development. That is what I'm trying to attempt here. So in that journey, obviously things will start from basics, and then gradually it will go towards the very sophisticated and complex stuff. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. Let me share that what this journey will look like. Okay, so I just minimized my cam. Okay, so let's start from here. Let me present this presentation to you. So when high level architecture will come later, because when you will start as a developer, you will directly start coding. You will not talk about what are the different components and this and that are there. How you will start is, somebody will give you small problem that write this class or write this function, which should do this, blah blah blah. So there, if you have knowledge of low level patterns and design and patterns, then you will be able to follow those, and then and there a lot of problems will go away. You will not introduce bugs because you are following patterns. If that whatever problem you are solving, if that follows if that is can come under any of this category, and trust me, 90% of the cases whatever you are doing is already being done by somebody else. The pattern is there, not the exact thing, but similar stuff. Okay, so we will start with very basic. We will start with solid principles. This is known, I'm sure who did engineering recently, they read it, but trust me, once you will start working, and if you will not follow, if you will not study day in and day out, you will forget these things. Maybe this is already there in your projects. Obviously, if you are working somewhere like Microsoft, Facebook, Google, big companies, in your projects all those things are there, but sometimes you doesn't even know. You don't know that these patterns are there, and then you're like figuring out, debugging everything, who is calling what and blah blah blah, right? So we'll start with this basic solid principles, non thing. In this this is, I would say, the simplest thing. We'll just talk about these things. I will give you a scenario, I will give you the code also. I will take any scenario and then code it in front of you, and then if you can focus on that particular principle which we are trying to read, and you can also come up with a scenario and code it, then that will be next level, right? After that, we'll move towards patterns, and in patterns, simplest form and first is creational patterns, and there are more than 3. I will take 3 for example, and in these 3 we'll go very deep. We will not just talk about the states, that what they are stating. We will not just code the obvious thing into that, but we will go in deep. If there is multi threaded environment, how these things will work, how the code should be, and how you will manage your code while these things. So here also I'll try to come up with scenarios, and then we'll definitely give the code, and will request you to do the same. Come up with your scenario, whatever you are doing at your job. Think of that scenario and just think of this particular whatever we are learning and try to code it separately, right? In the end, when you will just master one thing, ultimately you will realize that you got this world, right? You understood it very well, and now you can play with it. You can come up with your own rules. After creational, we'll move towards structural, right? In structural, this is the list which I came up with because actually I read them recently in depth. So I will go over these. The code is ready with me, so I will with scenario and code will discuss these things also in very, very, very deeply. Then we'll move to this in patterns. I would say this is most complex part, obviously that is why it is coming last, but reality is people don't read these things. Once they start their job, they do not get time to do these things. So I request you, please go over these things, and this thing will give you a lot of benefits in terms of success, obviously in terms of money which you will get once you have this knowledge. You can literally convert this knowledge into dollars, right? So this is a big list, obviously, and we have to discuss all these things. So we'll again come up with scenarios, and then we'll try to code it, and in coding also we'll talk about in different kind of environment how it will work, what can be the problems when you're coding these things, and how to tackle those things. Once these patterns are done, this is the basic, right? Once this basic is done, now we'll talk about the real stuff, right? The complex stuff, and you will find very I would say less content over the internet. Obviously someone who is very enthusiastic, they will be able to find content, but series wise I myself struggled to learn these things. It took me 10 years literally to learn these stuffs. I read books to understand these things, and that is where I'm trying to make this effort to at least start talking about these, and then eventually people will came up with their versions, and people will take these things, understand these things easily. So here we will talk about the basics. Patterns were like in OOP, what are the basic patterns, how to create objects, how one object will talk to another object, how to access method of one object into another. There are different patterns. But when you are building softwares, what are the patterns? Do you need to reinvent the wheel every time? Let's suppose if you are making a chat application now, so someone like WhatsApp has already done that. Even before it, that pattern is a known pattern. So if you are building an architecture of a enterprise level application, so people had already solved that problem. So can you follow that, and then on it you can just build whatever your business logics are. So we'll talk about that minute detail. Here I'm not talking about high level design of WhatsApp or high level design of an e-commerce. No, I'm talking about the basic patterns into enterprise application architecture, right? And obviously before we talk about these patterns, there are some basics which we have to go over with, like layering, which most of the people already know. Three layered architecture, we are doing it from ages now. Then how to organize your domain logic, then mapping relational database, concurrency, distribution strategy, and blah blah blah. Then we'll talk about some patterns. So what are the patterns in enterprise application? This is a complex stuff. We'll try to simplify it. We will definitely come up with scenarios and code here also. Not an easy thing to do, but we'll do, right? Once this is done, then we will talk about some real world projects, the projects which we are seeing these days. Netflix, rate limiting is very much, people ask these things in interviews, but how you really do that? You can read about rate limiting, you can think that okay, this is how we can do, not very complex, but when you will really going to start it, you doesn't even know where to run that. Project is ready, but where you will run that so that there is no latency you are introducing, right? Anyways, we'll go in details in this one. Then URL shortening, these are some famous questions which people ask, and these are some famous projects which people are doing, right? So we will talk about these things. Coding these things is not possible, because these are C in themselves, so we will not be able to code the entire thing, but we'll try to lay the foundation, some things, that how many components can be there and how these components can talk to each other and all those things. So we'll see what we can do here other than just the diagram. So that's it. So far I have thought about it, thought about this far only, that till here I must travel this journey. Beyond it, we will see what to pick next, and right, where should we go, how deep we should go. But if you will do this much, trust me, this is almost 10 years. Reading these things is easy, but application of these, applying these things, all those things always top of your head, you can say, in your, whether these things are in your subconscious mind or not, right? Not that easy. It is not in subconscious mind of everyone, right? Only someone, only the people who are leader in this industry, they have these things in back of their head. We'll try to do that. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. Let's start this journey. Let hope everybody, me and you, should be able to churn something good out of this. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.